Welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, a podcast about living the life you want. Today, I have a friend of mine. She's part of the Uncomfortables, and we'll come back to that later. But her name is Alla Powers. Hi, Alla.
Hi, so nice to be here.
Thank you for accepting. So Ala is a super coach. Her too. Her and I basically met during SuperCoach Academy, and we both were part of also a course that we just created that just finished, and the recordings are available for those of you interested. It's called "Find Comfort in the Uncomfortable." Ala, tell us a little bit. Besides being a life coach, what do you do?
I do a lot of things and they are all unrelated. Yeah, it's amazing how it happens. So, by training, I'm a programmer and I still work as a programmer. And I'm also a Reiki master teacher, a hypnotist. Um, Besides coaching, I love dogs. It's not really a profession, but it's a huge, huge part of my life. And I just
Yeah.
love bouquet.
Yes. She's leaning on my arm now. She's like, "Okay, the recording has started. We have to stay tranquille." So, Ala, this podcast that I've created is a podcast where I I'm hoping I will inspire people to live the life that they want and not the life that they think they want or the life that they think they should be living or that kind of thing. So I was wondering if you had a point of view about that. Have you ever thought about, are you living the life you want? Have you have you ever noticed that you were living the life you thought you should live because society told you to? Or
I don't think I live the life I want.
okay.
And I noticed that it gets better and better no matter what I do. Things kind of fall into place, and I realize, oh, yeah, 10 years ago, I wanted to live in this place. How did it happen? How did I live here? 20 years ago, I wanted to move to the United States, and I did. And it just happens. Yes, I did do some movements. I didn't just sit like a rock, but the biggest things that happened that contribute to me living the life I want, moving towards that, seem to be happening on their own. I just need to notice it.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
and
you
I
did,
think,
sorry, you
yeah,
did. So like in the beginning, so I thought I heard you say, I do not live the life I want, but you actually do live the life you want.
I guess it's partial because, and actually, now I think about it, we never stop wanting. There's always something we want, whether
Hmm.
it's more of something or less of something or something completely different. We don't stay still. So, by this measure, we're, we're still working on creating the life you want. Our desires change, parameters change, things change. Um, so, it does get better, but I don't think we will ever live the life we want exactly the way
Yeah.
we want. We'll,
Well, what's funny, like what I've noticed is that sometimes what I want isn't really good. It isn't, although I may want it, it may not really be like I may want to live on Mars and it may not be feasible at the time. You know what I mean?
I do. And oftentimes I notice things that seemed to be not feasible at the time all of a sudden become mainstream just a few short years later.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this thing, right, that we want to, like, when we want it now.
Of course.
I have a fly in my house. Those of you listening to the audio, you don't know, you can't see, but there's this fly that's bugging me. So I'm gonna try to not pay attention to it, but it's coming literally near my mouth. So this is not a good thing. And it woke the dog up. So sorry for the interruption, Ala, but like I had to get that out of my space. Um, so tell me, what do you make of, like, you wanted to come and live in the United States and now all of a sudden you're in the, well, not all of a sudden, but now you're in the United States. Like, what do you make of that? Like, what do you see inside this process that you've gone through? Is there anything that you can pinpoint?
Not really. The events that happened that led to it were completely out of my control. All of a sudden, perestroika happened and the borders opened, and all of a sudden we were allowed to leave the country, and America allowed people to come in. And then you meet someone you fall in love with and you get married, and then this and that happen. You really, all you need to do is just to show up.
Mm,
How can you possibly plan for you know, the fall of USSR? You can't. But when it happens, you're at the ready.
I
So
like that you said show up. I like you, like, just show up. Like sometimes, like, I could see how sometimes I think I want something, like I'm so determined to want this specific thing. And so when life happens and that thing is not there, then I get upset at it's not there. And I get sucked into the it's not there. And therefore, I'm actually not there either. Like, I haven't showed up in that moment because while I'm in my head thinking about how it sucks that I don't have that thing that I think I should have, or that thing that I want. Well, while I'm in that my head and making up all of this crap, I'm not in the moment and I'm not seeing what actually is there that could be even better than what I actually want.
so true. So true. And did it ever happen to you that, well, actually, you mentioned that already. You get what you asked for and you realize you didn't want it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It happened to me many, many times. I mean, if I look at the process of my life, if I just look at the process of my life, there are things that I really, really wanted, and then I got, and I was like, yeah, that's it. It's kind of like, is that it? And then there are other times or there that I didn't want something. Like, I didn't want something to happen. I don't want this to happen. And then it happened, and it was the best thing that ever happened. And that's just like, it just goes to show you that what you think is not necessarily right. You know, it's like,
Well, yes, and what came to me just now is the value of coaching. When you set a goal or you follow a desire, what you want, and there is another person who sees what's behind this desire and kind of points you to that, and you explore it, and you realize that you didn't really want a car, you wanted recognition of other people, admiration of someone else, how successful you are. You you equated a car to success. So when you realize the reasons behind your desires, you may or may not decide to actually pursue this desire.
yeah, there's something to be said with, you know, having a desire with an unknown reason. Like, there's an unknown reason behind that desire, or you don't even know that it's unknown. So I can't even call it unknown. But there's you think it's a specific thing, but it's something else. And then once you see it, you can choose freely,
Mm.
right? Like before that, it wasn't a free choice. It was, you know, I want that, you know? But once you know, now all of a sudden you can actually choose freely and say, do I do I want the car because I want other people to think I'm going to be, I'm going to have, what's the word? I can't find the word that you were using, but you know, people are going to look at me in a specific way. Or do I want the car because I want the car? Like you can choose freely at that point. And because that's a trap. That's a total trap. you know? I mean, when you think, okay, I'm going to get a car. Now, obviously people we're not thinking there. I know that we're not consciously thinking, okay, I'm going to get a car because people are going to think I'm going to be the man or the woman because I got this car, right? Um, it's not that we actually do this intentionally, but it does drive. It's a given. It's in the background running the show and we don't even know it's running the show, right? And then when we get the car and people start complaining about the car, then we get really, really upset. What do you mean? You're supposed to think that I'm the woman. You're not supposed to complain. So that's really a trap.
Yeah, it's really cool that you notice that um, you have no options when you just want something and go for it. When you see the whole picture, why you want it, and what surrounds this want, and what is it contributing to you and to your family or humanity, whatever it is that you want, yeah, then the whole world is your oyster, right? And there's so many options um, to move forward or a zigzag, whatever, whatever makes it fun.
Yeah.
And you can tell actually what drives you by the way it feels.
Mm.
If you feel constricted and too serious and righteous, yeah, that's a signal to stop.
Yeah, that's a flag. Like, I get what you're saying because I know that we've learned this in our coaching that our feelings are there to just let us know that our thinking is like screwed up a little bit in that moment. But and and it's hard for me because what's I have in me, like my habit is if I have a feeling, this is actually a precursor. It's like I feel like I'm this psychic person, and the feeling is actually psychically telling me something is going to happen now. Like I have this thing, and then I'm like, and it took me a while to detach from it. I thought I was I could feel things. Like I thought I was an empath or whatever it was. And now I'm like, "Oh no, it's just I'm thinking insecure thoughts, or I'm having, catastrophic failure in my mind." Like I'm just making up this shit in my mind, and it's causing my body to freak out. That's what's going on, you know? It's hard to get detached from it's not the truth.
Because it's so loud. You
Yeah.
get a knot in your stomach, you get pounding in the chest all of a sudden. That's got to mean something. And I talk to many parents, and they say, yeah, we all have that feeling. When we get it, we start panicking because that's an indication that there's something wrong with your child or with your spouse or with your parent. And you start calling everyone up, checking up on them, and everybody thinks that you're just crazy because there's absolutely nothing that was going wrong with them. But there was a sign from God that I was, because I started uh, feeling really crappy all of a sudden. Well, now we know that it's an unrecognized thought that you didn't even know it is, but your body did.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got 2 dogs barking right now, so, you know, there's somebody in the window, and so therefore, she's like, "No, you're not gonna get me."
Oof, and we're back.
There you go.
Yeah,
What's
but
his name?
Norbert,
Norbert. Hey, Norbert.
he's named after a baby dragon from Harry Potter series.
Yes, I know Harry Potter. He's very cute,
Yes,
very
and the biggest troublemaker.
cute. So, yeah, we were saying before we were so rudely interrupted by the feelings of Norbert. um, we were saying about how, the feelings that we get in our bodies don't really mean anything. Well, actually, all that they mean really is that we're having thinking that is going to, that is making us freak out. That's what it means.
I think that's a very accurate description of what the feelings are, and their purpose. That's really the only purpose that they have.
I used to think, and I remember when when I first started this inquiry in the 3 principles of mind, thought, consciousness, I had a coach, and I remember I would talk to her, and I was really super worried, and like, what if this happens, and what if this happens, and what if this happened? And she asked me this question, and I remember it very specifically because, like, I learned 2 things in that interaction with her. Her question was, "But do you think you need to worry?" And my immediate response to that was, "Of course not. Of course I don't need to worry, right?" And then her immediate reaction to that was, "Are you just telling me the answer you think I want to hear?" And I was just like, how dare she? And I was like, oh, but she is totally right. Like I'm a bright person. If she's asking me the question, the answer has to be no, right? But really, in fact, I did believe that I had to worry. And if I didn't worry, something bad was going to happen. Like when I worried, I was putting myself in a safety position where I was actually thinking of all the different possibilities that could happen. And then I was fixing them all up. If this problem happens, how could I fix this one? Oh, I'm going to do this. Fantastic. This one done. If I have this problem, I'm going to be able to fix it like this. Okay, done. And like I would go through the series and I thought, if I worried enough, I would be safe enough that if any of the things that I made up in my mind ever actually happened, I would be able to handle them.
I wonder if there were ever cases when a worried person would have achieved all the possibilities,
Yeah.
uh, all preemptive strikes, and actually got to the place of happiness after
Yeah.
having been worried for many, many years, whatever it takes. It seems to me that the more people worry, the more worried they get.
Yeah.
Our minds are amazing. They can concoct so many various scenarios.
Yeah.
There's no end to it. You
Yeah.
covered a dozen, yeah, and there's another dozen on the way that might happen.
That's why we can worry for years and years and years and years. It's like we have to see it for what it is. Like, and things that did happen, that I never worried about that actually happened in my life, I was actually able to handle them in that moment. And I had never thought about it before. You know, like, okay, I was driving at one point and I had a stick shift and my clutch broke. I could have worried about that. What happens if my clutch breaks? But I never thought about worrying about what happens if my clutch breaks. Well, my clutch broke. I don't know if you know, but when your clutch breaks, you can't stick shift anymore. Like you can't change gears. Well, I found a way to change the gears anyways. The car was screaming its brains out because I was still like, stick it in gear and just brought myself on the side of the road and, parked the car and then called dad. I was able to figure that out. But if I would have sat there and thought about what happens, if I wouldn't have even known that when the clutch breaks, you can't do anything after that. There's another thing that happened. My wheel, in English, in French we say cardan. I'm going to try and Google what cardan is, okay?
Spare
There
tire?
was something on the wheel, cardan in English. Okay. Driving shaft. No, whatever. Do you know what a gimbal is? Anyways, something on the wheel. It's something on the wheel that if that breaks, you can't move your wheels anymore. I had one of those break too.
Oh my God.
And I was still able to figure it out. But if I would have thought about it, if I would have like made it up, I would have never been able to solve it, period. You know? So sometimes it's like you just wait and trust that you're going to be able to handle it. It might not be the way your dad, because my dad wasn't happy with me breaking the stick shift. Uh, it might not be the way somebody else would have done it, but it's going to be the way that you're going to do it. And you're going to handle it.
So to all the worried people out there,
Mm.
I know some of my friends who would have who would have said, "Why did you tell me the story? Now I'm going to be worried about gimbals and stick shift." Oh,
Well, you could do that too, people. Just don't.
and please don't, please don't. Yeah, it's a fact that we choose to dismiss, that whenever something bad happened, we always found a way to overcome it, fix it, get out of it, find a solution, ask for help. We're still here. Through all our tribulations, we made it.
We're in a pandemic and we're still here.
Yeah, alive and kicking.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool to just live in the moment and just deal with what's in the moment. I was listening this weekend. Alla and I are doing a course called Coaching Mastery. And in this class, there was a lady, we had a master class with Mavis Karn, which is a gorgeous, beautiful lady. She's 80 years old. She's been teaching this understanding for 30 years. And she was like looking at the screen. It's so funny because my mother would be somewhere in that age range. And I can't even picture my mom looking at the screen and actually talking. So I was really impressed with her. So she's looking at the screen and she's got, all of these faces in front of her. And she said, you know what? I see some people have sun in their screen and I see some people are at night, because we're like, it's an international conversation. And she was like, maybe we're at different time in our time zones, but each and every one of us has now. Like, now is now for everybody. And I'd never thought about it. Something stupid, but I was like, yeah, so now for you is now for me. And there's only now. We can only live now. And that's kind of cool, actually, to live in the now.
And it seems so hard to stay in the now. Every
Yeah.
now and then we will drop into it and enjoy it and then fall out and then go, dude, why did I do that? I want to go
Mm.
back. Where is it? gotta gotta find it fast. I'm stressed out. Where's the now? And
That's what
really
we
all
do.
really all you need to do is to quiet your mind.
Yeah, because the mind is what takes us out of it.
And it could be fun sometimes.
Yeah,
It could be
of
scary.
course.
Yeah.
I think most of us use this to scare ourselves to death. When we were kids, we used it to go to the moon or to be Superman or, to be a magician, which were the fun things, right? Like, I want to have some powder, I want a powder that I could go, oh, I'm going somewhere. I would love that. Like, I loved magic. But most of the time, I'm going to create something that's going to be really, really bad. That's going to, you know, make me wind up in the street somewhere.
It happens all the time. Maybe less often now that you catch yourself soon enough, but it seems to be coming from nowhere and take control over you. And it seems that you are out of control and in the mercy of the thoughts. And you think that they are your thoughts since they're flowing through your consciousness. And that means that you are a worried person, a scared person, a bad person, whatever the thought tells you. But when you realize that that stream of thoughts is not yours, doesn't mean anything about you, doesn't tell much about you, then it's kind of liberating to dismiss them. If you don't like them, you have permission to dismiss those thoughts and not identify with them.
So this weekend, Michael, or I should say last weekend, because we are the weekend. But anyways, when we were in the master class, not the master class, the weekend class, Michael was talking about things that are natural and things that are normal. So in this situation, the normal thing to do is worry, because we've been talking about worry for some reason. So let's talk about that. So, the normal thing is worry. And the natural thing is wisdom. The natural thing, one of the things that really got to me in this class was that space is natural. So space is always there. It's there for everybody. And each and every one of us, we see different things in the space. Like what I see in your space, you probably don't even see it anymore because it's there and you just put it there, like I put this there, you forget. And I'm looking, I'm like, what is this? And you're like, what, because we just see what we want to see. That's what my mom used to say anyways. We see what we see, really. And what I saw was that I see the worried thinking. Like it's a thought that shows up in my consciousness, which is my space. Like my consciousness is my space. And then I innocently think that because I can see the worried thought, that I am the worried thought, but I'm just having a worried thought. And because that one is important to me, like I give it so much value, I'm like, okay, well, when I get a worried thought, I have to look at that one and I have to do something with that one. Instead of just saying, just like, oh, there's a paper in my space, like I'm not going to worry about this paper, I could just go, oh, I'm having a worried thought and stay detached from it. Did you hear anything in that this weekend for yourself or before?
I remember a conversation about it, and I don't have anything new to contribute to it, except that by then I already realized that the louder thoughts are, the more inclined we are to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not that's not the purpose of these loud thoughts. They're loud just because they're loud. No matter how loud they are, they might they still can show up and disappear in a second or so. But we think that that means something, that they require our attention, and that they are more true than other thoughts. And if we have on average 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, they're bound to be overlapping thoughts.
Yeah.
But we decide to pay attention to the loudest one. Remember the story about Joey? He's the guy who's serving life sentence because when he was 15 years old, he shot and killed his principal of his school. And I think Diane Sawyer was interviewing Joey. And he said that that day when he was walking through the school with a gun in his pocket, he was so mad. He just really needed to get revenge. And at the same time, when those revengeful thoughts were going through his head, there was a quiet, teeny tiny thought: Joey, don't do it. Joey, you don't have to do it. Joey, it's not going to end well. But he listened to the loudest thought, sat and killed the principal. And because he was almost 16, he was tried as an adult, and that's why he got life in prison. And Joey was saying that every night now, before I go to bed, I only have two thoughts in my head. Where did this tiny voice come from? And why didn't I listen? So maybe whenever you have some really intrusive, loud thought, you can take it as an indication to stop and take a second look and listen to the quiet voice instead of paying attention to the loud one.
Yeah, because the quiet voice will always have your back.
Yeah, and you can tell by the way it feels.
Yeah. Yeah. When you feel like shit, that's not the right way to go. I remember when I was younger, I was a little bit more vocal, like, yeah, the loud voices in my head were coming out of my mouth. um and I remember feeling really, really bad afterwards, you know? I can't believe I said this. I can't believe I said that. And then I would repeat it again. It would happen again, and I'd be like, "Oh man, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did that." Well, it's because, ladies and gentlemen, thinking disappears if you do nothing with it. And then you actually find your true self. And your true self, believe it or not, is love. Not love like you're in love, in a romantic love, but love is this space where there's no right or wrong, there's no judgment, it's just love. Everything is okay the way it is and the way it is not. And that's a beautiful place to live in. See, feels good,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah. I just kind of tuned into it and enjoyed that loving, unconditionally loving space.
Allah, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I think this is a perfect spot to stop, actually. I want to give you the opportunity. I don't know if you're ready for it yet, but if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
For now, I have a Facebook
Okay.
page, Alla Powers, easy to find. And my email is allapow, ALLAPOW, at gmail.com. And I do have a web page, a website, but it's under construction still.
Okay. Ala and I have already had another conversation. So if you want to go to my YouTube channel, it's youtube.coachjasmine.com. Ala and I had a Let's Chat About episode a little earlier this year. And if you guys would be interested in hearing us talk about getting comfortable in the uncomfortable, or finding comfort in the uncomfortable, you can go visit my website and you can buy yourself a copy of the replays. So, and if you want coaching, you can reach out to either of us. So, thank you again. Allah, have a fantastic rest of the day, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Jasmine.